she come?
She did.
That's one of the problems. She never listens to us.
I think it should be on. I think maybe not.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Colin.
Matt, Carl, you want to start?
Yep. Okay, my name is Matt. I'm Jill's husband. I'm a sales guy. I'm in sales. What else did you want?
How many kids do you have?
We have three. We have three kids, a 10-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old daughter. Jill's obviously been pretty active in MOPS, so I've actually had the privilege of doing this before, which was awesome. As Susie put it, the firing squad, you know, lined up here, so good to be here.
Phil Ramsey and my wife is Chris, and we've got 2 kids. Oh, I work for Mid-American Energy, 40 years next month. I think I'll just stay there, you know? We've got 2 kids and 6 grandkids. 3 little boys, 2 little girls.
Jamie Dodge, my wife is Melissa. We have 4, almost 5 children, so Melissa's doing a great job. I just show up where I'm told, so. My work, I'm a family medicine physician here in town.
My name is Joe Barnes, and I'm married to Katrina Barnes, and we have 3 beautiful children, and 1 little boy. And her new nickname that she's given him lately, she looks at me and she calls him loin fruit. And I think she's mad when she says that, but he's great. And I'm the worship director here at Sunnybrook Church.
Okay, our first question, and everyone has questions on your table, so if you want to follow through or follow with us, and I do apologize, when I sent all of you the questions, they weren't quite in English. I had copied and pasted them so many times. They were, I do have better grammar. Briarcliff did teach me something, but they are in English now. So my husband read them and he was like, "You sent that to people?" No, but they, 4404, if you try this.
I checked.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, there's something else.
Okay, what are some concrete examples of things your wife can do to make you feel more fulfilled or more honored? Matt, you want to start us off?
Sure. Wow. I would say for me, and I guess I would just prelude it by saying, and I think I speak for all the guys, but just because I'm up here doesn't mean like we have a perfect marriage and I'm the best husband in the world and father and that's just not the reality. I mean, we're a real life couple. So I know Jill will give me the freedom to speak freely today. You know, we have a pretty open relationship. But for me, I guess as I think about our relationship, it's probably different for each one of you, but for me, I'm not one of those guys, because I'm out working all day, that I like to talk about my work when I get home for an hour, hour and a half. So I'm not personally fulfilled by, you know, hey, how did work go? Those types of things that maybe some other men are. That's just, so you might have to read your husband or significant other and know that not everybody wants to do that. But for me, a clean house, you know, I'm a tidy guy. That probably speaks more love to me than almost anything. It's just, my love language is kind of actions, I guess. So for me, that's pretty huge. But I feel honored by Jill when she does tell me quite often, you know, like, I appreciate you, and you know, you're providing for our family. And we went through some pretty tough stuff this last year in 2013. I mean, just a variety of things, between cancer diagnosis and loss of job. And, I mean, just tough stuff. And some of you may be going through that, and you have like this opportunity to have that crush you and hurt your relationship big time, or have it make you stronger and build you up. And I can say honestly that because Jill honored me and believed in me, that I feel like it's what got us through that stage. So that's my, I guess, initial response to that question.
Yeah. I get emotional. Let me say, I didn't want to be up here because I don't have the perfect marriage. You know, my husband's got 39 years. You know, I said, Jill, you went through my wife, interpreter. I said, honey, I don't want to do this. Get what? 39 years we got to marriage. You know, we get baloney. I am still arrogant, proud, and controlling. You know, and they say as you get older, you kind of slow down and you just go with the flow. Is that the case? I ain't never slowing down. I ain't never going with the flow. So I'm sorry. So I said, I got nothing to say. You know, you guys are all wide-eyed, taking notes for all I know. I ain't got nothing. You know? But here's the ironic thing. Last night, 25 guys were across the hall in that Tuesday night men's group, and I started going to that. I was in the Friday group with the Tuesday night group. I liked it better, frankly, because it's a bunch of younger guys. And I'm just not an old guy. Sorry, you know. I'll run into you guys in this room. But I like that group. What did we talk about last night? Love languages and feelings. And here I am up here now today, telling you, let's see, what's your question? How can we feel more honored? There's no way to communicate man and wife, guy, gal, husband, without knowing those love languages. You can't, you know, she's speaking Spanish, I'm speaking French, you know? And that's, if you haven't delved into that, as guys, you need to know what your wife's language is, and wives, you need to know what your husband's language is. Unfortunately, Chris and I, as in everything, is just totally opposite, you know? So she likes the service and the warm and fuzzy feeling to others, and we'll get into that later. And I just soon kill them all and let the Lord sort them out, you know? I'm sorry, you know? But I like her to tell me that I'm doing a good job. She can give me the moon. I don't give a rip. Just tell me I'm doing a great job. And that's my love language. So I think she's figured that out and does a good job with it. So, you know, that words of affirmation, that's me. Acts of service, that's kind of her. Receiving gifts, my dad is so much like that. He never said, I loved you, but he floods us with stuff, you know, shoes and this and that. Dad, I'm not telling you love me, you know, but it's just not the way he talks. Nothing wrong with that. Quality time and physical touch. You guys probably know those, but if you're not speaking that foreign language to your wife, and it's probably foreign to us, you're not going to communicate. So that's how she can fulfill me and tell me that I'm honored by hitting that, with me, that words of affirmation. Phil, you did such a great job, man.
Yeah, I would agree with Phil 100% on the importance of the love languages, and whatever you want to call them. I mean, essentially it boils down to watching, you know, what your spouse does to show love is more than likely, you know, the way they would best receive love. Melissa and I are different in those regards. I've noticed, you know, I didn't think words of affirmation meant that much because I knew how she felt. What I've noticed recently is if she compliments me or kind of says something about my work or why I do it in front of the kids, that's kind of it's been a really good feeling. Because, you know, other guys may be different. I wouldn't necessarily need or really want to go to work every day or do what I do if not for some purpose, you know, greater than myself. And to a large degree, that's making a life for my family. And so, you know, we leave the house, leave the family, go do whatever for however long, and then come back. And if it's not received, I think, by the family in some meaningful way, I think that can lead to a lot of dissatisfaction in the work when it doesn't have to be dissatisfying. And yeah, it might seem obvious that, you know, of course you provide for me, but just saying it or attaching some kind of meaning to it to the kids, so they kind of then grow up and understand why dad's gone or why dad has to do this or that, and I felt that's been pretty significant.
I think just my love language, I guess, if you want to call it that, is words of encouragement from her, just knowing that, she sees what I'm doing, and when she encourages me, I think it definitely fulfills me, and it drives me forward, and lets me know that she's thinking about me, and we, just being a music guy, we almost get to work together a lot, and that's a lot of fun, and one of the things we love to do is to play music together, and so to have her with me, backing me up is awesome, and then to be able to push her out front is even more awesome, and but I really resonate with what Matt said, just with being a work in progress, and sometimes, and I think especially maybe with the younger family like we have, love languages can change, and I think her needs especially have changed, and I think when we first got married and started having our first little ones, if I can speak for her, I felt like her love language was touch and affection and things like that, and now with 3 little ones running around, when I get home, it's more works of service. Helping her clean the house and take care of kids and take care of discipline and stuff like that too. So I think you got to be careful with the love languages thing. You really got to just watch each other and pay attention to the season of life that you're in. So.
Jill.
I think she
You
just
got it.
said.
Yeah.
Somebody punch my number.
Phil, you're too hard on yourself. We like to hear what you have to say. I think Matt knows exactly how you feel, because I think you and I have a lot in common, so I'm all over the place too. Okay, what would you change about how women communicate with you? It doesn't necessarily have to be your wife, but it can be. It could be coworkers, but just in general, how women communicate with you. No, it's not a trap. We want to learn.
Okay, it's kind of hard how that's worded because it sounds like we're going to be bad-mouthing, if we talk specifically about our wife. But I'll be up front. I mean, Jill and I, we try to make a habit of going on dates, and sometimes, I don't know if you guys can relate, your schedule gets so busy, it seems like your only conversation with your significant other is about schedule, like who's getting the kid, and who's going this way, and who's dropping them off, and that's pretty shallow conversation. It's important, but it's pretty shallow. So 2 things that come to my brain, I guess, off the top is, number one thing that's, I think, important for me and for Jill, but it may relate to you, but with these smartphones nowadays, I caught myself, I had seen something on Facebook about this picture of this person on their cell phone, and they're missing out on all these really important moments of life. And I was kind of touched by that in a weird way. And I was like, gosh, is that me? Am I missing out on something because I'm on my phone doing something productive? And we went on a date, was it a night ago or 2 nights ago? We went on a date, and
3 years ago.
yeah, 3 years ago. 10 years ago, whatever it was. But I conscientiously thought, I want to approach this date and not be on the phone, And I did okay for a little while, and Jill probably did okay for a little while, but I think in general, communication nowadays, that's a big thing, I think. For a lot of us in this room, I see some heads nodding, but being able to put that away for at least a segmented, number of minutes, and being able to communicate besides schedule is something I would like to work on in our relationship, because it can get, there's exciting things going on. Her sister's pregnant, and you want to text with her, and pretty soon you're sitting there like, I'm over here, And I'm not busting you out, Jill, but I'm speaking to myself as well, that whole technology thing. The other thing on communication, be totally upfront. We've had a couple of pretty awkward instances on Facebook, just with like old classmates. I got like from like my first girlfriend, ex-girlfriend years ago. I got like a birthday type message, and it was just awkward, you know. So we were very open in our communication about that. Like, how do we handle this? And obviously, it's no secret that, I mean, emotional things can lead to other things, and emotional affairs are just as bad as physical affairs and all this other stuff. But I just, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here, but it's something in our relationship at our age, with the amount of technology out there, that we've had to be proactive about. So I don't know if that speaks to any of you or not, but when you're talking about communication, for me, that's two things. And Emily, I think because Jill's getting a smartphone, I'm bringing up this conversation this week, you know. But so, anyways, that's something I guess in our relationship I think we can do better is focusing on each other, put down the phone for a little bit.
Fine. Don't ever use that word with me. Fine. You know, we talk about communication. I don't know, but and this came from a woman. And you've probably heard this acronym. Fine means frustrated, insane, neurotic, and emotional. I don't want to hear fine, you know? You're in a communication or in an argument, if you will, and fine. That just doesn't, that's just, so I need communication to be direct. But now, hold on now. You can't poke the lion in a cage, you know? You don't put the stick in the lion because you want him to move to the other side of the cage. You've got to get him to do that on his own, you know? Does that make sense? So I need tactful directness. And there's a whole panacea of what that means. But sometimes I just feel like I'm in a cage and she's poking the stick at me, you know? Because now guys are fixers. We want to fix the problem right away. So whatever it is, you need to communicate what you want us to do without poking us through the cage. So we'll move. We'll go from this side of the cage to that, and you guys know better than anybody how to get us to do that. But don't use the stick. Do something that you do best. You know, our language or something. I don't know if that makes sense, but fine. We're improving our communication. Don't use a stick. Be direct, but be tactfully direct and tell me exactly what you need, but make it seem like it's my idea and we're in heaven.
Jamie, I need to interrupt. Sorry, they're looking for Avery coaches. Is that right? Oh, sorry. They didn't have your number.
What concerns me a lot as I kind of look in the broader culture is how men are always befuddled, they're incompetent, don't know what's going on, and the spouse, the wife, or whoever, the girlfriend has to fix things for him, has to step in and take over. And I think what a lot of that is maybe frustration on maybe my wife, our wives' parts on the timing of things. Maybe they poked a lion and it made the lion mad, to use Phil's analogy, and he's pouting, or maybe he being passive aggressive about it, or just has given up. You know, I'm tired of being wrong all the time, or I'm tired of being late all the time, or if you communicate to me the importance of something, and again, it may not be, unfortunately, it may not be just saying it once, or texting it once, and that's just the way it is. But if you communicate to me effectively the importance of something, I would say then you have to then trust that we can take care of it. It may not be in the exact way or time that you want it to be, but we, I think, respect that, or appreciate that trust. That, yeah, you can handle being in charge of this family. And again, it may not be the exact way that you would have it spelled out for you, but it's, that then, I think, snowballs a little bit to then, wow, you know, she trusts me to do this, so now I can do this, and then your confidence builds, and then I think you see some good fruit from that approach.
I think communication is probably, you know, on the top three of, you know, how to have a successful marriage. So I think this is pretty important. And one of the things that has been really helpful with us, in a word, is self-awareness and just understanding just ourselves to start with, but then also, you know, understanding the person across the table, you know, our spouse. And one of the tools that we used as we engaged in just growing in our own self-awareness was some Myers-Briggs and StrengthsFinder testing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of the psychological stuff, and you know, this is how serious you should take it. We had a lot of fun with it, but when we took our first Myers-Briggs test, we had been married for, what do you think, like 6 years? 6-ish years? And it told us that we were incompatible and that our personalities shouldn't fit together. And so we laughed, and then we went on having fun with that. And you know, my wife Katrina, in short, she ended up, you know, the Myers-Briggs gives you 4 letters that kind of, you know, lay out just the way you're wired and stuff like that. And she was a performer, and so she's fun and loving, and you know, likes to play and, you know, run around and do stuff. So then mine was much more serious, you know, that of a thinker and straightforward, and you know, just not ambiguous and things like that. So when it comes to communicating, one of the questions we came across was, how should you communicate with your spouse based on their different personality type? And the answer in her profile was that I should like put on a suit and put on a play for her, like dress up and dance around to try to get my point across. And I didn't do that. It didn't work. But what it just gave me some good. We love to joke about that, don't we? But it just gave me some good insight. Just that, you know, it takes her a little longer than it would for me to get to her point, and that's okay because she's much more animated. And the truth is, what we learned is that Katrina is really gifted in communicating in the communication department, and just with the way she uses, you know, just her language mixed with her ability to make people feel important. I found was very valuable, and I had a lot to learn, and still am learning from her. And you know, and so she has had to learn, just, you know, becoming self-aware and how she communicates with me, that I like things very direct, that I like to just get to the point. Let's forget all the fluff and the color and the animation. Let's get to the point. And so I think that, you know, learning to communicate as a couple, you know, has a lot to do with self-awareness and understanding yourself and how you're wired and how you operate. But also in that, you know, as a team, learning about that person across the table, learning about your spouse, and how to communicate with them. And that's been really helpful for us, if that makes sense.
I do think Matt was a little too kind on the communication question for me, because that was definitely not a strength of mine, because I am always right. I'm just teasing, I'm not always right, but I have a strong personality, and he has a strong personality. We're both college athletes, and so that can like pound together all the time, and so we do sometimes, but we can like be in like a really strong argument, and then we'll be like, you know, so we don't, it's not like we're mad at each other, but then we just make up, because, I mean, what's the point of two people fighting? Yeah, so anyway, I do think he was a little too kind to me, but anyway, what do you appreciate or admire in your wife, or maybe your mom, about her parenting? And if that doesn't kind of hit answering. Maybe what do you appreciate in, like, if you were to watch another person parent? Does that make sense? I didn't word that very good.
Yep. I guess to piggyback real quick on what you just said, I had to laugh. Caleb, my 10-year-old, the other day, we were going to basketball or something, and we were talking, and there was a parent from another team coaching who we know, who goes to this church. I won't say any names, anything like that, but we got to talk, and we're like, yeah, he's just a great guy, you know, and all this stuff. And Caleb says, yeah, I just love going over to their house because it is crazy like ours. And they're like, I don't have to like be worried about stuff, like I can just be crazy like at our house. So that's a little bit, we have a unique dynamic in our home, I think. But I like it. So anyways, back to the question at hand. For me, how many of you have daughters or a daughter? Okay, so that's my whole thing that comes to mind when I think about this. I've had the privilege to watch Jill relate to our two daughters that I don't have. I really don't have a clue. Just recently, my 8-year-old was being borderline bullied on the playground. She was being made fun of because her stretchy pant tights had holes in them. I'm like, so what? All my jeans have holes in them. What's the big deal? Tell the girl to go pound sand, you know, like, big deal. Well, this was really cool, and I'm not an emotional guy, but this was really neat. And so Jill and I talked about, we're like, you know, we're always pinching pennies with everything we do. Everything's on a budget. And she's like, can I just go out and buy Madison some stuff? So I'm like, yeah, just try to be frugal. So anyway, she goes out and gets some great deals, and that was really neat. But she got some great deals. She got like 9 pairs of these pants, and I was like, let's make it, you know, she's like, let's make it really special. So Jill writes her this handwritten note and card, and just full of encouragement, and you know how beautiful she is, and all this stuff, and lays it on her bed, and that was a moment. That was a moment. That was something where if I thought, you know what, Jill was not in the picture, I was a single dad, that's not even on the radar. I mean, it's not even on the radar. So that's something that recently, for me, I look at Jill and I think, wow, I think you as ladies have an ability, you know, you have a unique relationship with your sons or son, but you have an ability with a daughter to relate like us men can't. And we have a unique relationship with them too. You know what? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you get it. You've been there. You're more aware of stuff that's girly like. So for me, that was really cool. Impacted me, impacted our daughter, and that's for sure one of the things. And there's many, but that's one of the things that I admire about my wife. Is just her ability to relate to our daughters with that stuff.
We're both emotional. You just hold yours in. Instinct. And that's what I would say. Wow. And come on, stop. Maybe because, you know, after 39 years, I'm more aware of this than I was when maybe some of your husbands are. But instinct, man, your story is just 1 in a million for Chris. Her instincts for that kind of stuff is just, I mean, her rabbit ears are just up to the ceiling, you know. Not just with, we got a son and a daughter, but even today, I mean, she's just so in tune with emotions and their needs and what, you know, what buttons are being pushed, and I'm just kind of cruising through life, you know. She says, Philip needs this, and I said, oh, yeah, I guess he does, you know. So instinct, I'm just so impressed with my partner's instinct, and that just in one word is just, and I see it in your faces too. You know, these crazy numbers line up, and you're instinctive. That's on the surface, but beyond that, there's so much more that I've seen in her, and it doesn't stop with kids. I mean, she is so instinctive with our grandkids. I'm just amazed. Stupid stuff like this, I just hated this, but she filled a Tupperware full of navy beans and put them in our living room. And they're the same color as our carpet. And I said, that's not going to be good. You know, when these guys come, I mean, we got navy beans everywhere. You know? But I can't believe how important that stupid Tupperware full of navy beans were to those little monkeys. They poured and they dumped and they in their pants and but you know, I said, listen, I wouldn't do that, you know, and I told her that. But we got navy beans all over the house and the kids love that. But it made them feel special, you know. It made them feel like they were something, you know, had a navy bean sandbox in the middle of the winter. I don't know. And again, that's just a surface answer, but I'm just impressed with your instinct. Guys don't necessarily have instinct in that direction, and kids need that so much. If it's holes in the pants, or if it's something at work with our son or daughter, you guys complete that circle with us. So I just instinct, Captain.
I appreciate Melissa more as time goes on, as I see the fruits in our children that are, you know, things like that I probably, maybe not even probably certainly haven't shown them, but nurturing tenderness, compassion, which, you know, our youngest, our daughter's only, you know, 20 months old, so I can't tell that yet in her, but in boys, where it's not an instinct to be that way, or for me to be that way, I know they've only received that because they've had a mother like Melissa. And I think, too, I don't know if anyone will want to try to answer the second part of this question. And when I thought about that, I said, well, you have to be careful, because my belief is that God's given our children to us as gifts, and us to our children as a gift, and we're uniquely suited for each other. And it may not seem like that a lot of times when our personalities clash or whatnot, but only you as mothers have the unique gifting capability for your particular child or children. And whether or not somebody else does something differently than you, I'm sure we can learn from others, but your gifts are what your children need. So I admire Melissa searching out those, you know, gifts, things that she can do better, things that I can do better, that we as a couple can do better, you know, to fulfill God's potential in our children.
Kind of the way we describe it when we're talking is Katrina's the heart of the home, and still trying to figure out what I am, but she's the heart. I'm sure there's some jokes there, but you know, I think that I just really appreciate the flexibility that she brings into our home, you know, mixed with lots of grace and compassion. Katrina is just such a great example of grace to our kids. You know, I can relate with all your guys' stories just about, you know, the way that she approaches our kids and their relationship that they have, and especially having daughters. And, you know, it's been such a blessing, I think, in my life just to have girls. You know, I say that they just have made me softer. And, you know, I think for me, like, I naturally lean towards just being almost like dictator militant when it comes to the way that I want to run my home. And when I do that, and you know, when I've done it, it just really squashes everything, and especially the heart. And we're church planners. We planted a church like 10 years ago, and so just, you know, being in that whole world, did a lot of reading about churches and organizations and things like that. And there was one principle that I picked up that I really have tried to apply, and we're learning this right now, I think, to our family, but that, you know, we shouldn't look at things, whether it's family or church or work, so much as an organization, but especially the family as an organism, something that's living and that's breathing. And I think that I'm learning right now that when the heart is not healthy, when I'm not nurturing and taking care of my wife, it affects the entire organism, and that's just bad. And so, learning how to take care of the heart of the home, I think is what we're going through right now. And then, helping her even take care of herself. And she's a stay-at-home mom right now, which, has been this constant kind of discussion that we've had our whole marriage. And she's been back and forth to work, and she's a really smart lady, and I like to say if she went out into the workforce, she could probably make twice the money that I could. But I've always said, honey, whatever you decide to do, I'll back you on it. If you want to go to work, if you want to stay home, we'll make it work. And so we're in this season. We have our littlest one is just getting ready to turn 2, and so we just feel like it's important for her to stay home. And we're learning, I think, seeing firsthand that being a stay-at-home mom is one of the hardest jobs on the planet. So I'll just be transparent and say that we are in the middle of insane character building right now. And that whole heart analogy, I think, is just more real than ever. I mean, even just laying in bed last night, we were talking and kind of about that. And it was a really uncomfortable conversation, just, about some of the needs that she has when it comes to disciplining the kids or working with the kids or, and some other things. So when it comes to her parenting, just the heart of compassion that she brings to the table has taught me so much compared to me, walking in the room ready to discipline and whip him into shape and get him to stand in line. To see her kind of take an extra minute and just, allow the kids to be them. And, they just, it seems like they kind of need that time to get there, and I tend to, want to wrangle them up and line them up, and, so I'm learning to appreciate that about her.
What is the number one thing you and your wife fight about, or maybe that you and your children fight about, and how can we as women learn to fix that in our own relationships?
I don't know, I would say fight is a tough word. We definitely have a lot of disagreements. But I'd say for Jill and I mean, like she had mentioned before, we're both pretty strong personalities. I was brought up in a way, so I think that's the right way. She was brought up in a way completely different. She thinks that's the right way, and then we come together as one. We've been married since 2000, 12 years. We've been married for 12 years, so that's quite honestly a growing process for us. I mean, in my opinion, we have totally shifted where, like, if we do have a strong disagreement, it does not last long. We probably had one last night, and it's just over, I mean, we went to a prayer service last night, and it's a kid I went to school with. He's 35 years old, diagnosed with leukemia, and that's that, He's gone like that. Little kids, and I don't know, as I get a little bit older, I look at that stuff, and it comes to perspective, and I think, gosh, I don't want to waste my time with Jill, But I will say also, as a man, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of stubbornness, there's a lot of selfishness. There's all these bad patterns of how I was brought up on how you handle conflict that probably weren't healthy. You just stuff it in, you don't say anything, you just kind of let time go. And so I bring all that baggage into the marriage. She brings some baggage into the marriage, and you try to, without counseling, figure out what's the best way to make life work, And I guess so for me, the number one thing I would say for us is just, in general, just like stubbornness things. It's not, I can't think of like the finances or, you know what I mean? One that we consistently fight about. It's more like what are we doing this weekend? I don't want to go there. No, we're going there. Or, Jill's kind of a social butterfly, and I like need at least a night a week or a day a week to kind of at least have a couple hours of downtime where I feel like things are chaotic. So I guess that's probably a pretty big conflict for us. If it was up to Jill, we'd be doing something every minute, every day. If it was up to me, and I wasn't with Jill, we'd I have no life, So we meet in the middle, but I don't know if that's a good answer or not. But yeah. Go ahead, Phil. Pick up this slide.
This is a long one for me. This morning I was looking for this verse, and I don't like Paul so much. Paul's in prison and he's chained and he's singing. Come on, get up and kill somebody. Like Peter. Peter chopped their ears off and jumped out of the boat. I'm more Peter, so I don't relate to Paul, but this one I do. In Romans 7, he's saying, he's talking about how I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what is right, but I continually do what I'm not want to do, what is wrong. And I think that's the mode we get into with our struggles and our conflicts. That's just, Joe said, life is too short to do that, but yet we know we fall in that rut, So I can relate to Paul, and particularly with this question, but the men's group, we've gone through this Men of Valor, and one of the things that's stuck out in my mind is, when we get married, you get the nice little ceremony, and the two shall become one, but each of you come with a suitcase, and that suitcase is full of your past, and that past, just for instance, again, Chris and I got to say this again, she's over here, and I'm over there, on everything, but we come together in the middle. But her dad, for instance, was executive vice president of a manufacturing firm. My dad was an alcoholic, So my suitcase is filled with some different stuff than hers is. Her dad, I just admire him to the utmost. But my suitcase is different than hers. So finances, finances is what we'll probably struggle with, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. The big thing is the suitcase, and where we come from, our vantage point, and you can't get rid of that suitcase. You need to open it up and lay the underwear out so it can dry out, But you always have that suitcase. So finances in general, that's an easy one for us because I need a penny pinch. Because you never know when Dad's not gonna, when we're not gonna have some money for the next week or something. And I never had to worry about that. Mom worked her hiding off her whole life, But still, that's in a little boy's heart and mind. That's instilled pretty deep. So, we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. We're gonna save some money, And she typically says, "When are you gonna?" And my son told me that, "When are you gonna have fun?" Well, we're getting there. But my suitcase is different than hers. Control. Again, Chris is kind of a service-oriented person to help others, and I think she probably exudes that in this group here. I'm not that way, so she'll try to sometimes control my emotions to other people, if that makes sense. And I hate that. I hate to be told that I was rude to somebody. Well, if I was, I was. But I don't need her to explain or dictate that to me, So controlling me and my emotions, and she's good at that. I hate that. If I offend you, we'll live to tell about another day. But she comes to your rescue, and So controlling, don't be controlling again. That's that stick in the cage kind of thing. Do it in another manner. But I just say that. You don't fight, you just struggle with things, and it's the iceberg. It's supposed to get on the surface, and you need to identify that and chip away at it and come in the middle. And I think we have. We've done a good job of that. But there's always stuff with me. Can you imagine that? Huh? Easy going.
It seems like things that are my fault are mostly out of my selfishness. I want this, or when I want it, or in a different way, or something like that. So, the more I can give up my pride or my, selfish desires, or at least the timing of it. It may not be a bad thing that I want, it's just, for whatever reason, you know, we have to wait. And I think that works both ways. I think most, if not all men that, you know, that exist and those that you're married to can just about do anything if they have their wife behind them 100%. You know, why do we watch, well, I don't know, I haven't seen The Lone Survivor instead of go watch the whatever Valentine's Day romantic comedy. Maybe a few of you guys drag your husbands to that. But I haven't drugged Melissa to Lone Survivor. But the point of it is what do men seek to do things greater than themselves. And, you know, for most of us, that's our families, and our wives and our families right now. So it's just, on the other end of the spectrum, it's devastating to have any kind of blow to that where we're made to feel like we've let them down, let our wives down, let our families down. And I think we're all aware of that, probably some to another, you know, greater or lesser extent, but it's there. And if there's a fight, then it's probably in some way due to that. I felt, you know, you can say the word disrespected, but sometimes it's deeper than that. And we can handle disrespect from a lot of places or a lack of confidence in our abilities from a lot of people, but just not from our wives and families. You know, at least that which is not quickly resolved. And so I think for me, if there's a fight, that's worth fighting over, and by fight I mean discussing, and praying through, and resolving, so you can move on.
But, I mean, you know, Jamie, that's so true. We talked about that last night in the men's group, and this probably applies to Jesus Christ too. You know, the person that we love the most can. Why did I take the mic? The person that we love the most, which is you guys, even though we don't always show it, you can scar us the most and the quickest. And again, I think, how would Jesus feel with the way, you know, sometimes we treat him? But it's the same thing. He loves us so much, and we probably dishonor him so many times throughout the day. But just to say that, what Jamie said, you guys got our number. You had us with "I do," and although we don't show that, like, you know, we're the strongest guys in the world, you guys can turn us inside out. And if we go to work, for instance, and like Jamie said, we've felt disrespected or put down by you, we got no armor that day. You know, we got nothing. Just, you know, a critical point. I just love that. And again, that's got to be how Jesus at times probably feels with each one of us, because he loves us so much. We're the same as you guys.
We've been married for 8 years, and I think just shortly into our marriage, we had 2 babies really close. Katrina gave birth to her first 2 girls who were only 13 months apart, and you know, so just in the midst of that, things were crazy. I was busy, not home very much, and you know, when I was home, it wasn't pleasant to be there. And I tested this to see if it was true, but no matter what I did, it wasn't right. It wasn't good enough. You know, and so we had a problem, and there, you know, we finally just, after fighting, and you know, she beat me up a couple times. But we were there. I mean, it was just, you know, we'd run into a brick wall, and we didn't know what to do. And you know, the beauty of that, I think, is that God brings us there sometimes just to bring us to our knees and bring us to, you know, surrender that we don't know how to get to on our own. so I could give you examples of fights and arguments and things like that, but I wanna really share with you just kind of like the awakening that we had in this season of our life, and you know, it didn't fix it, but it definitely gave us something to blame all that was going on, and there was a lot of freedom there. And I'll never forget, we were sitting in the living room, and we, I think, had just had an older couple over that was kind of mentoring us and just speaking into us a little bit, and you know, it was, you know, they just kind of prayed for us and then left us to ourselves. And we went all the way back to the beginning with Adam and Eve and the curse and the fall, and just, you know, when things changed, and you know, the part where God was dishing out the consequences for their decision. And you know, just for sake of time, I don't have time to go through all of it. Ladies, don't think that I'm picking on you at all. I'm just sharing my story, and this is something that was really impactful, gave us some insight just to some of the things that were going on here. So God's dishing out Eve's part, and he says to the woman, this is Genesis 3, verse 16, to the woman, he said, I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children, period. But then there's these other two sentences that we felt applied more to our everyday compared to what had been happening every 13 months up to that point. And he says this, your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And it was like God opened our eyes to this curse, this sinful nature that we were living with, right? We were believers, we were saved through Jesus and the cross and all that stuff, but we were still wrestling with the flesh and this sinful nature. And part of that, all the way back to the curse, we felt like God was showing us that part of the curse for Katrina was her desire to run things, to rule over me. And you know, I don't want to come across as a chauvinist, and I was really